Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Eliot Wagonheim, who is the founder of Wagonheim Law and Farsighted Business. Welcome to the program, Eliot.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Give us a little bit of background on yourself, your entrepreneurial journey. Obviously, Wagonheim Law, we can assume what that is the legal profession, but you wouldn't normally think of someone in the legal profession as entrepreneurial in the sense that we typically think of. So tell us how that led into, your farsighted business focus.
Well, actually, I like to tell people that I'm an entrepreneur that just happens to be a lawyer. I started my first business when I was in high school, just printing custom T-shirts in designs that I now know to be trademark infringement. But back then I didn't know it was trademark infringement.
There you go.
I know. I would take the Superman logo and put Hebrew lettering or Greek lettering and Chinese and sell it at ethnic festivals in Baltimore. And now I know, of course, that you can't do that, but I was too small time for any of these DC and Marvel to get upset at, I guess. But after that, in college, I put myself through college by starting my own business there, selling, and here's how you know how old I am. I started out selling blank cassette tapes on the quad.
Nice.
And, BASF, Maxell, TDK. And I realized that I went to Duke University, and in Durham, North Carolina, where it's located, there were a number of small independent record stores that would sell them. But I wanted to go direct to the manufacturer, and they told me I didn't have enough volume. But I realized that these small record stores didn't have enough volume either. So I went to each of them promising them much lower prices than their supplier. But what I wound up doing was putting together a buying group so that with them I had enough volume. I went direct to the manufacturer, and so I was able to turn that into a business. So I did that, and through law school I started the first legal temporary service on the East Coast, with lawyers as temps. And so I've always been an entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurs, and I focus my practice on business law because I love what these people do and I speak their language. When I graduated from law school almost 30 years ago, if you believe it, my sister gave me a coffee mug that read, "I'm a business attorney. I keep exciting things from happening." And I kept that to remind me of exactly what I'm not supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So that in a nutshell is kind of my journey. And I kept in touch with the entrepreneur community, and that's my my bread and butter and my lifeblood. And so my whole journey throughout my professional career, even starting in high school, was entrepreneurial.
I love that, and it's interesting when I hear some of those examples of your business ventures, and I wonder if then or through your experiences now, do you think that people that come up with great ideas for businesses, because what you mentioned is not an invention, right? But you had a good idea. You almost noticed a gap or a need, right? Do you think that people go out searching for that, watching for that, or it just kind of dawns on them one day like, well, doggone, this thing doesn't exist. I wonder if I could start that.
Well, I think it more dawns on them, but I think you have to have a mindset so that, you could know day after day after day that there's not enough taxi cab coverage in your area, yet a lot of people with driver's licenses and cars are sitting idle. You might know that. That's a fact that you know. And you might also know that you really need rides. You need a driver on call, but you can't afford to pay a driver. But those two things will dawn on you, and you might every single week think, geez, this is a pain. Boy, this is annoying. Geez, I wish there was a better way than just calling up my friends for rides or calling a taxi company and waiting and paying it through the nose for this. But you have to have an entrepreneurial mindset that starts looking at a problem and seeing an opportunity. And that's where I think the disconnect is for so many people.
I agree. And otherwise, you just go, doggone, I'm just mad, and let me go back to my 9 to 5 and punch my clock. So it does have to. You have to have that entrepreneurial bent or openness or something to go, well, let's go fix that. What can we do?
Right.
And I think that's a huge piece. That's really a good point.
Yeah, and I'll give you a stupid example, real short. My son, who's entering in 9th grade, came to me. He goes to a very small private school where we live in York, Pennsylvania, and he says, I don't like the opportunities we have for teams. We have soccer and we have basketball, and I don't like them. So what would you want? He said, I want an ultimate Frisbee team, and I think there are a lot of people that would be interested, but we don't have that. I'm really irritated that we don't have that. And he was just kind of venting. But I was looking at him and say, well, start one.
Yeah.
Go to the administration. And so we mapped out everything, but at each hurdle he was saying, well, but they wouldn't do that. But the school has to do that. And so I'm trying to teach him that don't just throw up the obstacles. Understand the obstacles, but figure out a way around them. You can ask. You can do this. You can do that. And that's where an entrepreneurial mindset comes in. It's not a failure to see the obstacles, but it's a willingness to think about overcoming them.
Yeah, and I love that example because it's like teaching your kid, entrepreneurial mindsets, and it's kind of like in business. Don't be the guy that comes in and complains about something. Be the guy that points out that issue and goes, I've been thinking though, what if we did this, and would it work if we did that? And I think that way the management, the boss, or any human being looks at that like, now that's a good, you've got something there. Let's, I don't know whether that specific aspect will work, but let's set up a meeting and go through that. Same as with your son with the Ultimate Frisbee. You can't just go railing into the administrator's office and saying, how dare we don't have Ultimate Frisbee. But what if he did some research and found, how to start an ultimatefrisbeeleague.com or whatever, right? I'll bet you that guide's out there. Somebody out there has got a blueprint for doing that. What if he took that kind of a overview to the administration and said, I think we could do this, and I think it could be even a way to raise funds for the music department or whatever, or the athletic department. Could you let me have some resources, or could we start working on this? And if they see he put enough effort into doing that, that's the kind of thing where they could say, let's give him a little bit of rope and let's see where he can go with this.
Right, because which guy would you rather have on your team, if you're in business? Would you rather have the person that just throws up obstacles and tells you why it can't be done? Or would you rather have the person that perceives the obstacles and tells you how it can? You go for the
because the first guy is just annoying.
Yeah, he's horrible. He's horrible. No progress would ever be made with the first guy.
Yep. In fact, people see him coming down the hall, and you turn around and grab your phone and like, oh, I've got that call.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Hey, so on your website, farsightedbusiness.com, on the speaking page, there's a really cool thumbnail of a video, YouTube video, and it's you holding a baseball bat on stage. So what is the story behind that?
Yeah, you did your homework, didn't you? You went digging for that. It's what I call the baseball bat, if you remember, is red. And so I call it Red Bat Lessons. The baseball bat actually belonged to my dad. And my dad was a lawyer. He was a sole practitioner in rural Maryland. It was just him and a secretary, which meant, and he billed by the hour, which meant, like most lawyers do, which meant that if he didn't do the work, it didn't get done. And if it didn't get done, he didn't get paid. Anyway, I keep that bat in my office. He passed away 10 years ago, April 1st of 2007. And I keep that bat in my office to remind me of two lessons he taught me, one that he meant to teach and one that he didn't. The first lesson was that when I said he passed away on April 1st, 2007. So after he passed away, it was up to me, not only as a son, but also as a lawyer, to go through his papers for his firm. And in those papers, I found an engagement letter dated March 1st, 2007, exactly 30 days before he died. And now my dad died of leukemia, which meant that toward the end, he tied to an oxygen tank, and he had long since passed the point when even the most fervent optimist would have said, oh, don't talk like that, or of course you'll get better. He knew, as did everyone around him, that he was coming to the end of his life. And yet I saw this letter where he took on a new client 30 days before he died. And so I asked myself, well, why would he do that? And, you might be tempted to say that he did that because he liked the law, he liked what he did, and he couldn't bear to give it up. And that's partially true, but the real reason that I know is that he took on a client because he was scared. He was scared that if a miracle occurred, and he did happen to recover, but he had given up his practice, he wouldn't have enough money. He wouldn't have enough wherewithal to survive because he had given up his practice, and he would, as he would think, be a burden to his children. And of course, he wouldn't have been a burden, but he would think that way. And so the first lesson, which is one he didn't mean to teach me, but which I remember, is he was a great father, but he was a terrible businessman, meaning that he neglected to pay himself first. He would pay all the other bills. He would pay his employees. He would pay whoever he had to pay, but he neglected to keep an eye on his own goals and his own progress towards his goals, even when money was tight, just to make sure that he was a priority. And it came back to haunt him, and that's why he took on a client when he had no business taking on a client, when he was so close to the end of his life. So that's the first lesson. And there's a second. The second is that he used to play baseball with that bat in the fields behind the elementary school where I went, and it was every Sunday morning. And at around 11 o'clock, my sister and I would walk to the fields behind the elementary school. We'd watch the last inning or so. And when his friends left, my dad would play ball with us. He'd run the bases. We'd play catch. We'd hit the ball around. And it was all as unhurried as it sounds. And although, as I said, he was a sole practitioner, and if he didn't do the work, it didn't get done. And if it didn't get done, he didn't get paid. He never wore a watch on those occasions. Because, as he told me, time didn't matter then. He wasn't watching time. He was paying attention to what mattered most to him, which was his family. Mm-hmm. And the lesson he taught, and why I have the red bat on my wall, why I'm looking at it right now, is he did understand the importance of balance. And he understood, even if he didn't pay himself first and put himself first as a financial priority, he did understand to put himself first as far as the things that mattered, the cornerstones of his life. And as hectic and as demanding as his job was, he knew that he needed to spend time with his kids as they were growing up. And he was a fantastic father, a role model for that. And so that's the second lesson, the second red bat lesson, is one of balance, even in the midst of one of the most demanding jobs that a person has. As a professional job, a lot of responsibility, and he was, a one-armed paper hanger. He was not going to let that be an excuse that would deprive him of the years that mattered most. So that's a shortened version, believe it or not. I know I rambled, but a shortened version of the red bat lessons that I talk about on stage.
And there's a book, I forget the author, but it's called The Present. And actually, I've got the little card here in front of me. Focus on what is right now. Use your purpose to respond to what is important right now. Meaning, when we look too far, I think we get so enamored with setting goals and planning for the future that we don't realize what's in front of us right this minute. And I love that don't wear a watch example, because I'll get there, but yet I don't want to be distracted from right now and being present in the right now. So let's take that thought as we kind of land the plane here and turn that into, when you work with clients, with businesses, what do you find organizations, can you advise them to do that focus on the present now while still keeping that finger on the pulse of the future? Because you gotta know where you're going, the good business plan, good marketing plan, but at the same time, you can't just blow through things, or else your employees might not feel appreciated, or your clients or vendors might feel neglected. So I think that's a big principle.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely is. I asked them to tell me a story, and I say a story, but it's really multiple stories. I asked them to take on the role of a rock star employee, and imagine that you're being interviewed, and the question is, why are you working for ABC Company? Now, you have an opportunity to put words in your rock star employee's mouth. What would you hope he says or she says? What would you hope? Well, because what's your pitch to other rock stars? Well, because they give me an opportunity to get better at what I do. I have learning here. I'm in charge of exciting projects. I have a lot of responsibility. The pay is good, but that's not the key issue. It's quality of life. They care about me. Okay. Once you've fleshed out that story, now let's reverse engineer the company. Let's go back to the present and make that true. Make that story not just possible, but inevitable that your rock star employee is going to tell. Same thing with partnership. Tell me the story. And sometimes it's a negative story, which is, why do you wish you could kick your partner out, or why do you wish you could leave? Okay? Then we talk about those issues. Well, I wish we would leave. I would want to break up the partnership if she did this or she did that, or I wasn't able to do this, or a decision was made to move the company here, or whatever it is, whatever's important to you. Okay. Now that we've told that story, let's go back and look at the documents, look at your agreement, reach an understanding among all the partners that protects you from those things happening so you don't reach the point where you want to leave the partnership. So it's all in imagining and playing through the story, writing your script, and then making it inevitable that it comes true, or that you're protected from it coming true.
I love that example. And have you ever read the book, I'm sure you have, Think and Grow Rich, that major definite purpose? Well, I think that sometimes we just think that, okay, I'll just work hard and hope things come to me. But if you don't articulate your goal, your vision, your mission, your hopes, aspirations, whatever, and articulate it maybe in writing or even verbally, or tell other people. So how about this? It's easy to quit on a program that you signed up for online and never told anybody about because, whatever. But if you did something and then you start announcing it and you start putting it out there online on social media, telling your friends, family, work associates, colleagues that you're doing this or launching that, now all of a sudden there's two levels of accountability. One is they're asking you how's it going, and two, that you've got a little bit of a reputation to live up to.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And just to give you an example, I had decided that something that I love to do is speak. I love public speaking. And I considered myself a speaker, but I wasn't doing all that much to get speaking engagements. People would call and, sure, I'll do it, but I wasn't really going after those opportunities, so I wasn't making good on a promise to myself to make that more and more a greater part of what I do for a living. But when I started talking to people, when I started telling them, this is my goal, this is what I want to do. Now, and I've been telling people that for a while now. So I sat down with a good friend of mine this morning at coffee, and he looked at me and he said, so I know you told me that you want to do more speaking. So what are you doing for that? And he wasn't grilling me. He wasn't trying to coach me. He wasn't trying. He was just interested. He was just catching up as a friend. Hey, I knew this was important to you. Are you doing anything to that? And I knew that if I said to him, nah, not really, he would have laughed it off. He's not my coach, and he's not my mom, and he would have been fine. But I also knew that he would ask about it, and I was pleased that I could tell him.
Yeah.
Because you're right. People expect that you're going to do something, and it does hold you kind of accountable. I wanted to be able to tell him, well, I told you I wanted to do this, and here are the steps I'm taking. What do you think about that? And the other part of it is, just real fast, the other part of it is, if I tell them, hey, I really want to do X, Y, and Z, you never know if the person on the other side of the table says, I never knew you wanted to do that.
Funny,
well, Lisa
you should say that.
Over here, she knows how, maybe you should meet Lisa.
Yep.
You never know that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You just never know, and it's just, and you're not doing it once and kind of waiting for 2 seconds, waiting for them to say it. You're just getting it out there. So I love your mindset. What's the best way that people can reach out to you to learn more about your firm, your products, your services, and maybe connect with you?
Well, if they first of all, they can go to Twitter, which is at Wagonheim, WAGON, like a wagon, HEIM, or they can just go to farsightedbusiness.com, and I always respond. So those are the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Well, Eliot, thank you so much for your time today. It was wonderful getting to know you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.